$80 doesn't buy much these days. I stared at the crisp bills Tyson had placed on the kitchen counter, arranged in a neat fan like he was doing me some grand favour. My weekly allowance, as if I were a child getting pocket money instead of a 38-year-old woman trying to feed 2 adults. My name is Paula, and this morning marked the 127th time I'd had to ask my husband for grocery money. Yes, I counted. You start keeping track of these things when every dollar becomes a power play. Remember to budget better this time, Tyson said, adjusting his designer tie in the hallway mirror. Last week, you went over by $12. I bit my tongue, remembering the reason. He'd invited his friend Brian over for dinner without warning, and I'd had to stretch the meals. Actually, about that, the kitchen faucet is leaking again. Could we? Paula? He turned, giving me that look, the one that made me feel 2 inches tall. We talked about this. Times are tight. We need to be careful with expenses. Right, careful with expenses, like his new golf clubs last month, or the business dinners that seemed to multiply every week. But I swallowed my retort, watching him stride out to his BMW, the same car he'd bought without consulting me, using our joint savings. My phone buzzed, my sister Faith calling for our morning check-in. Let me guess, she said when I answered. It's allowance day. Ding, ding, ding. Winner gets to try feeding 2 people on pocket change. Paula, this isn't normal. You know that, right? Mark and I had our issues before the divorce, but he never controlled money like this. I sighed, pulling up the household budget spreadsheet Tyson insisted I maintain. He says we're tight on funds. The market's unstable. His business needs cash flow. And you believe him? Faith's voice sharpened. Have you ever actually seen the accounts? All of them? I paused, realizing I hadn't. Not in years. He handles the finances, says I'm not good with money. Because he tells you that, repeatedly, while controlling every penny you spend. Faith's eye roll was audible. When was the last time you checked your joint account? My stomach churned. I should probably do that. You think? Listen, I'm meeting my lawyer friend Sophia for lunch tomorrow. Come with us, just to talk. Faith? I can't. Tyson would what? It's lunch, not a bank heist. After we hung up, I sat at the computer, telling myself I was just looking for an old grocery receipt to justify last week's overspending. But my fingers typed in our online banking password instead. Access, denied, changed. I tried another combination. Success. The joint checking account showed the usual pattern. My old marketing job's retirement fund deposit from years ago, Tyson's regular transfers out, bill payments. Nothing suspicious, but a notification popped up. Tyson's work email was still logged in on our shared laptop. I shouldn't look. I shouldn't. Subject: Vegas trip. Confirmation: Bellagio suite package. Dear Mr. Shepherd, thank you for your reservation. I clicked it. 5 nights, luxury suite, premium dining package, golf course access. Total cost: more than my entire year's worth of allowances. The room spun. Times are tight, he said. We need to be careful with expenses, he said. The leaky faucet would have cost maybe $100 to fix. Another email caught my eye. From Brian. Can't wait for Vegas, man. Paula has no clue, right? Better keep it that way, considering what happened last time. Last time? What last time? My hand shook as I opened our old tax returns, stored in the desktop's documents folder. Something wasn't adding up, literally. The numbers Tyson showed me monthly never matched these figures, not even close. The front door clicked. He was home early. I quickly closed everything, heart pounding. Hey, honey, he called out. Quick question, did you move any money around in the accounts? Some weird notification came up. I thought of the $80 on the counter, of the leaky faucet, of Vegas. No, I said, voice steady. Must be a glitch. You know I never touch the accounts. I'm not good with money, remember? He smiled, patting my shoulder as he passed. That's my gal. Always honest. I watched him walk upstairs, my hands clenched under the desk. Honest. Right. Well, honey, that makes one of us. My phone buzzed again. Faith. So, lunch tomorrow. Sophia's really good at financial advice. I looked at the $80, at the Vegas confirmation, at my reflection in the dark computer screen. You know what? Count me in. A Vegas trip? I kept my voice casual over dinner, watching Tyson's fork pause halfway to his mouth. Brian mentioned something about it at the barbecue. The lie slipped out easily. No barbecue, no mention, but I needed to see his reaction. Just a quick business thing, he said, resuming eating. Boring stuff. Man stuff? You wouldn't be interested. 5 nights at the Bellagio sounds pretty interesting to me. His head snapped up. The mask slipped for just a second before that condescending smile appeared. Been snooping through my emails, Paula? It was open on our shared laptop. I stabbed a piece of chicken. Funny how there's money for luxury suites, but not for fixing the faucet. You wouldn't understand the complexities of business networking. He reached across the table, patting my hand. This is why I handle the finances, sweetheart. You get emotional about money. I pulled my hand away. Right, emotional. Like when you bought your BMW without telling me? Or when you said we couldn't afford my mum's cancer treatments last year, so I had to beg Faith for help. That was different. How much is in our accounts, Tyson? All of them. He stood up, plate in hand. I'm not having this conversation. You're being hysterical. Hysterical? Because I asked about our joint finances. Our finances are fine. I manage them. End of discussion. He dropped his plate in the sink with a clatter. I have a late meeting. Don't wait up. After he left, I called Faith. He's at a late meeting, I told her again. Perfect timing. Get your laptop. I'm coming over with reinforcements. 20 minutes later, Faith arrived with Sophia, who turned out to be a sharp-eyed woman in her late 30s, with the kind of confidence I'd lost somewhere between I do and weekly allowances. Financial abuse is more common than you'd think, Sophia said, reviewing the documents I'd gathered. But this is methodical. Look at these transfers. She pointed to a pattern of money moving between accounts, always just under amounts that would trigger notifications. There's at least one hidden account, Faith added, probably more. How do you know? I asked, because I hired a forensic accountant after you mentioned the cancer treatments. David's been tracking things quietly. Faith pulled out a folder. You're not going to like what he found. She was right. I didn't like it. Not the secret savings account in both our names that I'd never seen. Not the suspicious transfers to his secretary, Natasha. Not the steady draining of my retirement fund that he'd promised to invest. Classic pattern, Sophia said. Isolate, control, gaslight, make you doubt your own financial competence while systematically hiding assets. What can I do? Sophia's smile was razor-sharp. Well, since you're named on that secret savings account, we can start by freezing it. Then we'll... The front door opened. Tyson's voice carried from the hallway. Paula, why is Faith's car outside? Sisters' night, Faith called back cheerfully, while Sophia silently gathered the papers. Hope you don't mind me stealing her. He appeared in the doorway, eyes narrowing at Sophia. And you are? Just leaving? Sophia said smoothly, standing. Paula, thanks for the recipe. Faith, see you at yoga. After they left, Tyson turned to me. New friend? Faith's friend, I said. We were discussing recipes. He studied me. You're not still upset about Vegas, are you? It's important for the business. Of course not, I smiled, thinking of those account numbers. I trust you completely with money. You know that. He relaxed, back to his patronizing self. That's my girl, always understanding. He kissed my forehead. I'm heading to bed. Big day tomorrow. Sweet dreams, I called after him, my smile never wavering. My phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. Tomorrow, 9 a.m, my office. Bring every financial document you can find. Time to play hardball. Another from Faith. David's ready when you are. Just say the word. I thought about all the times Tyson had patted my head, called me emotional, insisted I couldn't handle money. About Mum's treatments, about $80 allowances while he planned luxury Vegas trips. My reply was simple. I'm ready. One last text came through. From Brian to Tyson, but still logged on our shared iPad. Vegas, baby, just like old times. Natasha confirmed she's handling the special arrangements again. I took a deep breath, saved a screenshot, and headed upstairs. Tyson was already snoring, secure in his world of secrets and control. Sweet dreams indeed, honey, I whispered. Enjoy them while they last. Tomorrow would be a very big day indeed, just not the kind he was expecting. The router's acting up again, I announced over breakfast, watching Tyson's reflection in the toaster as I fiddled with my phone. Did you mess with the settings? He sighed, that familiar note of condescension creeping in. You know, technology isn't your strong suit. Must be the weather, I said, knowing full well I'd changed the Wi-Fi password last night. No more access to our shared cloud storage for him. I'll figure it out. As soon as his BMW disappeared down the driveway, I got to work. Amazing how much evidence you can gather when your husband thinks you're too stupid to operate a scanner. Every receipt, every bank statement, every suspicious email, copied, dated, organised. My phone buzzed. David, Faith's accountant friend. Found something interesting, he said without preamble. Those transfers to Natasha, they're coded as business expenses, but they're going to a personal account. How personal? Joint account, opened 3 years ago. My hand shook as I wrote it down. 3 years ago, right when Tyson started insisting we couldn't afford for me to keep my marketing job because one of us needs to manage the household. There's more, David continued. He's been moving your retirement fund money through shell accounts. Classic tax evasion scheme. Can you prove it? Already documenting everything. Sophia will have a field day with this. Speaking of Natasha, I grabbed my keys. Time to pay Tyson's office a visit. The receptionist smiled when I walked in. Mrs. Shepherd, what a surprise! Just dropping off some documents Tyson forgot, I said, patting my bag. Is his secretary around? Natasha, she's at lunch. With Mr. Shepherd, actually. Of course she was. I waited in my car, watching the restaurant across the street. They emerged an hour later, Tyson's hand lingering just a bit too long on her lower back. My phone captured every second. Got your proof? Faith asked when I called her. Enough to make a divorce lawyer salivate? I pulled into our driveway. But that's not even the worst part. What is? I remember her now. From 3 years ago, that business trip to Miami. The one Tyson said I couldn't attend because it was too expensive. Oh, God. Yeah, found the hotel receipts. 2 rooms, connecting doors. Guess who was in the other room? Faith's curse would have made a sailor blush. That's absolute... Save it, I cut her off, hearing Tyson's car. He's home. Time for Act 3. I was in the kitchen when he walked in humming, happy from his lunch date, no doubt. Productive meeting? I asked innocently. Very. He loosened his tie. Hey, did you get the router fixed? Working on it. How's Natasha? He froze for just a fraction of a second. What about her? Just wondering. Saw you at lunch. That new Italian place looks nice. Business lunch, he said quickly. Budget reviews. Funny place for budgets. I stirred the pasta sauce. Isn't that where you took me for our anniversary, before money got tight? His face darkened. Are you spying on me? Spying? No, honey. I smiled sweetly. I'm being a dutiful wife, taking an interest in your work. Isn't that what you wanted, when you convinced me to quit my job? Paula, speaking of jobs, remember that marketing campaign I designed? The one that won an industry award? I pulled out my old portfolio. Found it while cleaning today, brought back memories. Ancient history, he snapped. You agreed staying home was better. Did I agree, or did you make it impossible not to? His phone rang. Brian. I heard snippets. Vegas, arrangements, Natasha, handling. I need to take this, Tyson said, heading upstairs. My phone buzzed with a text from David. Found the smoking gun, hidden trust fund, established before your marriage. He never disclosed it. That's illegal. Meeting tomorrow? Another from Sophia. Everything's ready. Say when. I looked at the portfolio in my hands, remembering the woman I used to be, the one who earned her own money, made her own decisions, didn't ask permission for groceries. Upstairs, Tyson laughed about something with Brian, probably congratulating himself on another day of successful manipulation. When? I texted back to Sophia, then to Faith. Tell David to bring everything tomorrow, all of it. One last message popped up, from Natasha to Tyson, misdirected to our shared iPad. Vegas arrangements confirmed, same as Miami, she'll never know. I saved the screenshot, added it to my evidence folder, and stirred the pasta sauce. Let him laugh. Let him plan. Let him think he's won. Tomorrow would change everything. The elevator doors opened to Tyson's office floor, and I straightened my blazer, the one I'd kept from my marketing days. Amazing how armor can look like business casual. Mrs. Shepherd, Natasha's voice was pure ice as I approached her desk. What a surprise! Mr. Shepherd is in meetings all day. Oh, I know. I placed a manila envelope on her desk. These are for you, actually. She raised a perfectly sculpted eyebrow. For me? Just some photographs. Miami, 3 years ago. That little Italian place from yesterday. I leaned in, dropping my voice. You really should be more careful with hotel receipts. The colour drained from her face. I don't know what I'm talking about. Save it. I'm not here for a confrontation. I straightened up. Just wanted to see you for myself. The woman worth throwing away 17 years of marriage for. She glanced at the envelope, then back at me. It's not what you think. No. I pulled out my phone, showing her the bank statements. So, these transfers to your joint account. That's not what I think either. That's complicated. Life's full of complications, isn't it? Like explaining to the IRS why business expenses are going into personal accounts. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Natasha, Vegas won't be happening. Not this time. The elevator ride down was surreal. In the mirrored walls, I caught glimpses of someone I barely recognized. Someone stronger than the woman who'd accepted $80 allowances and patted head dismissals. Faith was waiting in her car outside. How'd it go? She asked as I buckled in. She's scared. Not of me, of what I know. Good. That'll make her sloppy. Now, ready for phase 2? Phase 2 meant a trip to the post office, where I rented a P.O. box under my maiden name. Then to the bank, where a sympathetic manager helped me open a separate account. Financial independence is crucial, she said, processing my paperwork. Especially in situations like yours. Back home, I found Tyson pacing in the kitchen, phone pressed to his ear. What do you mean, acting weird? He was saying. Did she? No, that's impossible. She doesn't know anything. Yes, I'm sure. Look, just keep it professional until Vegas, okay? He hung up, startling when he saw me. Paula, how long have you been standing there? Just got home. Everything okay? Fine. He rubbed his neck. Work stuff. You wouldn't understand. Try me. It's complicated. Like Miami was complicated. The words slipped out before I could stop them. His face went through a rapid series of expressions. Surprise, fear, anger, finally settling on condescension. Honey, what are you talking about? Nothing. I forced a smile. Just tired. Think I'll lie down. He relaxed visibly. Good idea. You seem stressed lately. Maybe we should increase your yoga budget. As if he hadn't cut my yoga budget to 0 last month. Upstairs, I heard him on the phone again. Brian? Yeah, false alarm. Paula doesn't suspect anything. Everything's set for Thursday. No, she's clueless as always. My phone buzzed with messages. Sophia. Papers ready? David's evidence is solid. Green light whenever you're ready. Faith. Bank account active. PO, box keys secured. No trace to home address. David. Found 6 more hidden accounts, all documented. He's going down. And then, surprisingly, from Natasha. We need to talk, not what you think. There's more. I stared at that last one for a long time. More? What could be worse than secret accounts, hidden trusts, and 3 years of hotel receipts? Tyson's voice drifted up. Everything's perfect, Mom. Paula's finally learned her place. No more career nonsense, no more independent ideas. I thought of the blazer I was wearing, of my award-winning marketing campaigns, of the woman in the elevator mirrors who refused to be anyone's puppet anymore. Tomorrow, I texted Sophia. First thing. To Natasha. Starbucks, 7 a.m, come alone. To Faith. It's time. Downstairs, Tyson was still talking. Vegas will be perfect, just like old times. Paula doesn't suspect a thing. I opened my laptop, logging into our now frozen joint accounts one last time. In 48 hours, he'd be at the Bellagio trying to check in with cancelled cards and frozen funds. In 48 hours and 1 minute, he'd realised his clueless wife had outplayed him at his own game. But first, I had a coffee date with his secretary. Something told me Natasha was ready to do some talking of her own. I touched the blazer's collar, remembering the woman who used to wear it proudly. Time to bring her back. You're early, Natasha said, sliding into the seat across from me at Starbucks. No makeup, dark circles under her eyes. She looked nothing like the polished secretary from yesterday. Spill. I pushed a coffee toward her. What's more? She pulled out her phone, hands shaking. First, you need to know, I never slept with him. Those hotel rooms, they were for others. Others? Girls, young ones, Vegas, Miami, business trips. She showed me photos. I was the coordinator, setting up entertainment for his clients. My stomach lurched. The coffee turned to acid in my throat. You're telling me my husband is running a high-end escort service through the company? Yeah, that's where the money really goes. She laughed bitterly. The joint account, that's hush money. He's got dirt on me too. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Sophia, it's done, she said when I answered. All cards frozen, accounts locked, divorce papers filed. David's evidence is with the DA's office. Change of plans, I said, looking at Natasha. We need to add something. Already on it, Natasha cut in, pulling out a USB drive. Every transaction, every girl, every client, I've been documenting everything. My phone buzzed again. Faith. He's leaving for the airport. Brian just picked him up. Perfect timing. Send everything to this email, I told Natasha, scribbling Sophia's address. Then get somewhere safe. Back home, I poured myself a glass of wine and opened my laptop. Time to watch the show. First card decline came at 9:47 a.m, airport check-in. Second, at 9:49 a.m. Backup card, 3rd at 9:52 a.m. Business account. My phone exploded with notifications. Tyson. What did you do? Brian. What the hell is going on? Tyson's mother. How dare you embarrass my son? I ignored them all, watching through the airport's security cameras. Thank you, David, as Tyson had a meltdown at the check-in counter. His face turned redder with each declined card. Ma'am, the Bellagio's manager called. Mr. Shepherd's reservation has been cancelled as requested. His guests have been notified. Thank you. I sipped my wine. And the other matter? Police are aware of the situation. They're very interested in those financial records. By noon, Tyson's carefully constructed house of cards was burning. His phone must have been exploding too. Angry clients, scared girls, panicked conspirators. He burst through the front door at 2 p.m., face contorted with rage. You stupid bitch, he roared. What have you done? Me? I didn't move from my chair. I'm just a simple housewife who doesn't understand money, remember? The accounts, the cards, everything's frozen. Fascinating. Almost like someone who's named on those accounts finally decided to pay attention. He lunged forward, but Faith stepped out from the kitchen, phone raised. I wouldn't. Police are already on their way. Police? He laughed desperately. For what? Tax fraud, I said calmly. Money laundering? Running an illegal escort service? Take your pick. The colour drained from his face. How did you... Natasha says hi. She's very cooperative when she's scared. You don't understand, he tried, switching to his patronising tone. This is business. Complex business. You're emotional. Save it. I stood up as police sirens wailed in the distance. I understand perfectly. So does the DA. I'll destroy you, he snarled. You're nothing without me. No, honey. I handed him an envelope. Divorce papers. I was nothing with you. That's the difference. The police arrived with perfect timing. 2 officers I recognised. Faith's friends, briefed in advance. They were surprisingly gentle with the handcuffs. Mrs. Shepherd, one turned to me, we'll need your statement. It's Miss Hill, actually. I smiled at Tyson's shocked face. I'm reclaiming my name, along with everything else you stole. As they led him out, my phone buzzed one last time. Sophia, judge granted emergency asset freeze. House is yours. Bank accounts recovered. Want to hear something funny? What? His precious Vegas suite? I booked it. For you and Faith. Time for a real sister's trip. I looked at the wine in my hand. At Faith filming everything. At Tyson being placed in a police car. All those years of $80 allowances, of being patted on the head, of, you wouldn't understand. Turns out, I understood just fine. Vegas sounds perfect, I texted back, but first I need to fix a leaky faucet. You've ruined everything! Tyson's mother burst into my kitchen the next morning, waving papers. Do you know what people are saying? What this will do to his reputation? His reputation? I poured coffee calmly. You mean the one he built trafficking girls through his business? She faltered for a moment before rallying. Lies. My son would never save it. I slid a folder across the counter. Bank statements, hotel receipts, witness statements. Your precious boy's been busy. These must be fake. But her hands trembled as she flipped through the pages. Ask Natasha. She's talking to the FBI right now. The doorbell rang. Sophia arriving for our morning meeting. Perfect timing. Mrs. Shepherd, she nodded to Tyson's mother. I see you've received our evidence package. You can't do this to my family. Your family? I laughed. Where was this concern when Tyson denied helping with my mother's cancer treatments? When he forced me to quit my career? When he was protecting you? Women like you need guidance with money. Women like me? I stood up. You mean successful marketing executives who gave up everything because their husbands manipulated them? Paula, Sophia touched my arm, the DA's waiting. Tyson's mother blocked the door. You're not going anywhere. This ends now. You're right. I pulled out my phone. It does end now. Want to see how? I played the video. Tyson's airport meltdown, his rage when the cards declined, his threats when he came home. Then, the security footage Natasha provided, showing him escorting young girls through hotel lobbies. Still want to defend him? I asked quietly. She sank into a chair, aged 10 years in 10 seconds. I didn't know. Yes, you did. You just didn't want to see it. My phone buzzed. Faith was at the police station. Tyson's asking for a deal, she texted. He's scared. Good, Sophia said, reading over my shoulder. Let him squirm. We have enough evidence to bury him. Evidence? Tyson's mother whispered. What evidence? Tax fraud spanning 7 years. Illegal escort service. Money laundering. Sophia ticked off points on her fingers. And that's just the criminal charges. Wait until we get to the divorce proceedings. Another text from Faith. Brian's talking. Says Tyson forced him to help hide money. Wants immunity. They're all turning on each other, I mused. Honor among thieves? Paula, please. Tyson's mother grabbed my hand. He's my only son. We can work something out. Like he worked things out with those girls, or with my mother's medical bills. I pulled away. No deals. The doorbell rang again. David, this time, carrying more files. Found 3 more accounts, he announced. Cayman Islands, Switzerland, Dubai. He noticed Tyson's mother. Oh, awkward. Those are personal accounts, she blurted. Family money. Sophia's eyes gleamed. Family money he never disclosed during the marriage. That's fraud, Mrs. Shepherd. More charges to add. My phone lit up with a call. Tyson. Paula, baby, please, he begged. I can explain everything. The girls, the money. It's not what you think. I was protecting you by trafficking teenagers. Business, entertainment. Everyone does it. Goodbye, Tyson. Wait, I'll give you anything. The house, the cars, full alimony. Too late. I hung up, blocked his number. His mother was crying now. He's sick. He needs help. He needs consequences, I corrected, for once in his life. Another text from Faith. Police want your statement. Ready? I looked around my kitchen, at the evidence scattered across counters, at Tyson's mother's crumpled form, at Sophia and David preparing for battle. Ready, I replied. Paula, Tyson's mother tried one last time. Think about what you're doing to our family. I am thinking about family. I grabbed my keys. I'm thinking about my mother fighting cancer alone because your son hoarded money for his escort service. I'm thinking about those girls' families, wondering where their daughters went. I'm thinking about every family he destroyed while you looked the other way. She had no response to that. Outside, Faith waited in her car. You okay? Never better. I buckled up, watching Tyson's mother shuffle to her car in defeat. Let's go make a statement. About the money? Faith pulled away from the curb. About everything. I touched the folder in my lap. Evidence of years of abuse, fraud, and crimes. Time for the whole truth to come out. My phone buzzed one last time. Natasha. FBI wants to talk. I'm telling them everything. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry, I texted back. Be thorough. The truth was finally breaking free, and no amount of maternal pleading or desperate phone calls could stop it now. The courthouse hallway buzzed with whispers as I walked in. 3 months since Tyson's arrest, and the media circus hadn't died down. Prominent businessman's double life made for juicy headlines. Ready? Sophia squeezed my shoulder. Born ready. I straightened my blazer, the same one I'd worn to confront Natasha, now my power armor. Inside, Tyson sat with his legal team, looking smaller in his orange jumpsuit. His eyes locked onto mine, pleading. I looked right through him. All rise, the bailiff called. The judge, a stern-faced woman in her 60s, reviewed her papers. Quite the mess we have here, councillors. Your Honour, Tyson's lawyer started. My client... Save it, she cut him off. I've reviewed the evidence. The FBI reports are disturbing. Natasha took the stand first. Gone was the polished secretary, replaced by someone who looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. Mr. Shepherd approached me 3 years ago, she testified. Said if I helped coordinate his entertainment services, he'd pay off my mother's medical debts. And these services involved? Recruiting girls, college students mostly, sometimes younger. Her voice cracked. He said it was just escort work, but I watched Tyson's face as she detailed everything. The hotels, the clients, the threats when anyone got scared. His mask finally cracked when she mentioned the offshore accounts. That's lies, he shouted. She's trying to save herself. Mr. Shepherd, the judge warned, control yourself. Brian testified next, throwing his old friend under the bus to save his own skin. Tyson handled everything. The money, the girls, the cover-ups. We just followed orders. And Mrs. Shepherd? He kept her in the dark, laughed about it, said controlling her money kept her docile. My hands clenched under the table. Faith, sitting behind me, touched my shoulder. David presented his financial evidence next. Spreadsheets, transfers, hidden accounts. Classic money laundering structure, he explained, using the escort service to clean illegal funds. Objection, Tyson's lawyer jumped up. Speculation. Overruled, the judge said. Continue. The evidence mounted. Text messages, hotel footage, bank records, each piece another nail in Tyson's coffin. Then came the bombshell. Your Honour, Sophia stood. We've just received new evidence. She handed over a flash drive. Miss Kelly wasn't the only employee Mr. Shepherd blackmailed. His former assistant came forward this morning. The courtroom screen lit up with emails, dozens of them. Tyson threatening employees, destroying careers, using company funds to silence witnesses. That's privileged information, Tyson's lawyer protested. Not anymore, the judge replied. These were submitted to the FBI's ongoing investigation. My phone buzzed. A text from Natasha. More witnesses coming forward. It's over. Tyson must have sensed it too. He leapt up, pointing at me. She's lying. She knew everything. She's trying to steal my money. Your money? I finally spoke, voice steady. You mean our money? The money you used to traffic girls while I begged for grocery money? Order! The judge banged her gavel. Mr. Shepherd, sit down. Paula, please, he tried again. Baby, we can work this out. The defendant will be silent, the judge snapped. Now, regarding the divorce settlement. Sophia stood. Given the evidence of financial abuse and criminal activity, we request full asset forfeiture and maximum punitive damages. Your Honour, Tyson's lawyer attempted, my client's business is forfeit, the judge finished, along with all personal assets. The FBI has priority on criminal charges, but regarding the divorce, she turned to me. Ms. Hill, the house and all unfrozen accounts are yours. Full separation granted, with restraining order approved. I heard Tyson's mother sob from somewhere behind me. As for criminal charges, the judge continued, that's for another court. but I'm ordering all evidence transferred to the FBI's Human Trafficking Division. Tyson slumped in his chair, defeated. Outside, reporters swarmed, but Faith and Sophia formed a protective barrier. "How does it feel?" someone shouted. "Taking down your husband's empire?" I paused at the courthouse steps. "It feels like justice, not just for me, but for every girl he exploited, every employee he threatened, every life he tried to control." My phone buzzed again, this time from my old marketing firm. "Saw the news. Position still open if you're interested." Faith read over my shoulder. "Look at that. Full circle." "Ms. Hill," another reporter, "any message for your ex-husband?" I thought about the $80 allowances, the patted head, the controlled life. "Yes," I said clearly. "Money doesn't make you powerful. Truth does." As we drove away, I watched the courthouse shrink in the rearview mirror. Somewhere inside, Tyson faced his fate. But me? I faced freedom, and it looked a lot like justice. "Last box," Faith announced, dropping a container labelled kitchen onto my new apartment's counter. "Though why you're keeping his precious budget spreadsheets is beyond me." "Oh, I have plans for those." I pulled out the stack of colour-coded papers. Tyson's financial control manifested in Excel format. My phone buzzed, Sophia with updates. Tyson had taken a plea deal, 15 years for trafficking, fraud, and money laundering. His empire was ashes, his reputation destroyed. Most importantly, the girls were getting help, their families compensated from seized assets. "Ms. Hill?" My new marketing team lead poked her head in. "Sorry to interrupt your moving day, but we need input on the anti-trafficking campaign." "Coming." I grabbed my laptop. After the trial made headlines, my old firm didn't just rehire me. They put me in charge of a major awareness initiative, turning pain into purpose, as Faith called it. "Hold up!" Faith grabbed the spreadsheets. "These need proper disposal." We headed to the building's courtyard, where Faith had already set up a small fire pit. One by one, we fed Tyson's control documents to the flames. "Remember this one?" I held up a sheet. "Grocery budget guidelines with helpful tips like consider fasting and bulk beans are filling." "While he spent thousands on escorts," Faith snorted. "Burn it." The paper curled and blackened in the flames. My phone lit up. Natasha. "FBI found more accounts, sending details. Still cleaning up his mess?" Faith asked, more like following the money. "Each account leads to more victims, more witnesses." I watched another spreadsheet burn. "Every dollar he used to control people is now helping them heal." "Speaking of healing," Faith pulled out an envelope. "Remember that cancer treatment centre that rejected Mum because we couldn't pay?" "Hard to forget." "Well, guess who just got a massive anonymous donation? Enough to fund treatment for 50 patients. I smiled, thinking of the offshore account I'd discovered last week. How mysterious. "Paula!" my team lead called again. "Campaign meeting." "Go!" Faith waved me off. "I'll finish the ceremonial burning." Inside, my new office buzzed with energy. The anti-trafficking campaign was gaining traction, sparked by our story, but growing far beyond it. Survivors were coming forward, corporations were changing policies, legislation was being drafted. "We have a problem," my assistant said as I sat down. "Tyson's mother is in the lobby. Send her up." She looked older, grayer when she walked in. "Paula, I needed to say something." "I'm listening." "I was wrong about everything, the way Tyson treated you, the things he did." She twisted her hands. "I enabled him, made excuses, and those girls. Why are you here? To give you this." She handed me a file. "Tyson's trust fund, the original one from his grandfather. I was the trustee, but..." She straightened her shoulders. "I'm signing it over to your foundation, for the victims." I opened the file. 7 figures worth of generational wealth, now redirected to healing the damage it had caused. "Thank you," I said simply. She turned to leave, then paused. "You know what the worst part is? I gave him an allowance too when he was young, to teach him responsibility. Instead, he learned to use money as a weapon." After she left, Faith texted, "Spreadsheets are ashes. What's next?" Through my office window, I could see the campaign posters being prepared, stories of survival, resources for victims, warnings about financial abuse. My team was reviewing social media responses, planning outreach programs, coordinating with law enforcement. "Next," I texted back, "we keep turning weapons into shields." My assistant popped in. "Your mother's doctor called. The new treatment protocol is working." Another text buzzed through. From one of Tyson's victims, now in college on a foundation scholarship. "Got my business degree, starting a company to help women achieve financial independence." I looked at my desk, where a small frame held my first $80 allowance, preserved as a reminder, not of control, but of breaking free. The fire pit in the courtyard still smouldered, Tyson's spreadsheets nothing but ash. In their place, new spreadsheets filled my computer. Foundation budgets, survivor support funds, campaign metrics. Faith appeared in my doorway. "Ready for the shelter opening?" I grabbed my blazer, my armor, my victory flag. "Ready." "Hey," she caught my arm. "Remember what you said about grocery money last week?" "What about it?" "You bought premium coffee without checking the price. Didn't even flinch." I smiled, remembering the panic such a purchase would have once caused. "Freedom tastes better than budget beans." Together we headed out, past the burning spreadsheets, past the campaign posters, toward a future where money meant possibility, not prison. And I didn't check a single price tag along the way.
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm a 32-year-old marketing manager living in Boston, and what I'm about to share still feels surreal. You won't believe how amazing Sarah is. Mike finally found the perfect woman. I told Jessica over coffee 3 years ago, back when my brother first introduced us to his fiancée. "She seems sweet, but something feels off," Jessica said, stirring her latte. "Come on, Jess, you're just being overprotective. Sarah's different." Oh, how wrong I was. The first red flag appeared just 2 months after their wedding. "Emmy, sweetie, I have this super important client meeting. Could you watch the kids for a few hours?" "Sarah, I have a presentation in an hour." "Please?" "I already dropped them off with your building's doorman. You're the best." That's how it started. Random drop-offs became weekly occurrences. Her 3 kids, Tommy, 8, Lisa, 6, and little Jake, 4, were adorable. But I never signed up to be their emergency babysitter. "You're their aunt. Family helps family," Sarah would say whenever I protested, layering guilt into every word. During one of our weekly meetups at Tom's Cafe, I finally vented my frustrations. "You need to set boundaries," Tom said, setting an extra muffin in front of me. "I've tried," I groaned. But then she runs to Mike crying about how I'm refusing to help with family emergencies. "That's manipulation, Amy," Jessica chimed in. "And your brother's enabling her." Things only got worse when Sarah's mother, Karen, moved closer. They became a tag team of guilt and demands. A good sister-in-law would be grateful to spend time with her nieces and nephew. Karen scolded me at a family dinner. And in my day, I shot back. People asked before dumping responsibilities on others. Last week, I finally snapped. I put together a schedule, setting clear boundaries for when I could actually help. "This is ridiculous," Sarah scoffed, tossing my carefully made schedule aside. "We're family, not some business arrangement." "Exactly, and that's why we need boundaries. I love the kids, but I have my own life." "Your own life?" She folded her arms. "Please. All you do is work and hang out with Jessica and Tom. It's not like you have a husband or kids to worry about." That stung, but I stood my ground. "My time is still valuable, Sarah. If you need me to watch the kids, I need at least 24 hours notice." She glared at me, pulling out her phone. "You've changed, Amy. You used to be so helpful." No, Sarah. I just stopped letting you take advantage of my kindness. I thought that was the end of it. I had no idea things were about to escalate dramatically. 2 weeks later, at our weekly family dinner, Sarah beamed as she clinked her wine glass. Mike surprised me with a 2-week trip to Hawaii. Isn't that amazing? Everyone congratulated her, but I knew something was coming. Then she turned to me, smiling sweetly. And you'll get to spend some quality time with the kids while we're gone. I already told my boss you'd be watching them. The room fell silent. Jessica nearly choked on her wine. Tom stopped mid-bite. You did what? I placed my fork down slowly. Well, obviously, someone needs to watch them. You work from home, right? I stared at her, pulse pounding. Sarah, I can't take 2 weeks off. I have critical meetings, presentations, but we already booked the tickets. Sarah's voice rose in pitch, her eyes darting toward Mike. Tell her. My brother shifted uncomfortably. Amy, can't you help us out? Just this once. Just this once. My laugh was hollow. She dumps the kids on me weekly. Hire a proper babysitter. Sarah shot up from her chair. A stranger? With my babies? She turned dramatically. Karen, can you believe this? You're being very selfish, Amy. Karen chimed in from across the table, shaking her head. Family should come first. I have helped plenty, but 2 weeks is excessive. I have responsibilities. Sarah scoffed. Responsibilities? Then with a mocking laugh. Oh, you mean playing office all day while real mothers handle real work? That's enough. Tom's voice cut through the tension. Amy's career isn't a game. Sarah's head snapped toward him. Stay out of this, she spat, grabbing a knife from the table. You're part of the problem, always taking her side. Sarah, put the knife down, Jessica warned, pulling out her phone. Sarah sneered. Or what? You'll record me? Little Miss Perfect, always needing protection. I stood slowly, keeping my hands up. Let's talk about this calmly. Sarah's eyes darkened. I'll show you calm. Everything happened in slow motion. The knife left her hand, whizzing past my ear and embedding itself in the wall behind me. Jessica screamed. Tom lunged forward. Karen gasped. Oh my God. Sarah. Mike finally reacted, scrambling to his feet. What are you doing? Sarah was breathing hard, her hands shaking. She made me do it. She's always undermining me, making me look bad. Jessica was already dialing 911. Are you insane? Sarah shrieked. Don't you dare call the police. Mike snatched Jessica's phone. Amy provoked her. Tom's voice was incredulous. By refusing to babysit? Get out. Sarah screamed. All of you, get out of my house. The next morning, despite Karen's tearful calls and Mike's angry texts, I filed a police report. She could have killed you, Tom said grimly as he walked me into the station. Hours later, Karen's Facebook post appeared. Heartbroken. How money and career corrupt family values. Some people forget blood is thicker than water. Pray for my daughter-in-law Sarah, victim of cruel sister-in-law jealousy. The comments flooded in. Poor Sarah. Some women are just bitter. Families should stick together. Jessica screenshot everything. Evidence, she said grimly. This isn't over. She was right. But none of us expected what came next. Tom slid a folder across the cafe table. My friend at the PI firm found something interesting. I flipped through the pages, my hands starting to shake. Police reports, workplace incidents, restraining orders. 3 different jobs in 2 years, each ending in a mutual separation agreement. Tom's hand brushed mine. Keep reading. Jessica set down her laptop. We tracked down her former coworker, Linda. She's willing to talk. That evening, the Zoom call left me cold. Linda's expression was grim. Sarah threw a stapler at our supervisor. The company buried it to avoid bad press. I quit the next day. Did anyone file charges? I asked. Linda hesitated. The supervisor was too scared. Sarah's mother, Karen, she's got connections, makes things disappear. Days later, Jessica's a friend made another discovery. Look at these credit card statements. She pointed at her screen. 7 cards. Maxed out. Over $100,000 in debt, all hidden from Mike. How did she keep this from him? Separate mailing address. Her mother's house. My phone buzzed. Another text from Sarah. You'll regret this. Nobody believes the bitter single sister. Screenshot everything, Tom advised. His hand rested lightly on my shoulder. Amy, I need to tell you something. I've cared about you for a long time. Seeing you go through this. Before he could finish, my phone rang. Sarah's current workplace. Miss Walker, we're investigating an incident involving Sarah. Multiple employees have come forward after hearing about your police report. That afternoon, social media exploded. Karen's damage control backfired spectacularly. Sarah's always been misunderstood, she posted. These allegations are from jealous coworkers. Linda commented almost immediately. Misunderstood. Like when she threatened to push Jan down the stairs. Then more flooded in. She threw hot coffee at our intern. Remember the parking lot incident? Karen paid off my medical bills to keep quiet. Each revelation cracked the wall of silence. Tom held me as I processed it all. You're not crazy, Amy. You never were. All those times she made me doubt myself. I exhaled. She's good at manipulation. But it's ending now. Sarah's work finally took action after security footage leaked. Jessica smirked. She's on administrative leave. The investigation is official. Mike's name flashed on my phone. For once, I let it ring. You don't owe him answers, Tom said softly. You don't owe any of them anything. I nodded. I just can't believe I never saw it before. Abusers are clever. Tom's fingers laced through mine, but they always slip up eventually. That evening, as Sarah's carefully crafted image crumbled, I felt no joy, just relief. The truth was finally coming out. We're not done, Jessica warned. Karen's still trying to spin this. I leaned into Tom's embrace. Let her try. A notification popped up. Sarah's company. We are launching a full investigation into multiple serious allegations. The house of cards was falling, and I was finally free. 6 months later. 6 months in county jail, Tom read from the court document, plus 5 years probation. The courtroom emptied slowly. Sarah's face was ashen as they led her away, her designer outfit replaced by handcuffs. Don't let them take me. Mike, do something, she screamed. But Mike stood frozen, clutching papers from their divorce attorney. Evidence of $200,000 missing from their joint accounts. How could you? Mike's voice was raw as he confronted Karen in the courtroom hallway. Our savings. The kids' college funds. Karen clutched her purse, her face pale. This is a mistake. My daughter would never. Linda spoke up from the gallery. Would never what? Throw a knife? Assault coworkers? Karen flinched, but the judge's words still echoed in my mind. A pattern of violent behavior, financial fraud, a risk to society. That evening, my phone buzzed with messages from family members. We had no idea Karen covered up so much. I can't believe we blamed you, Amy. Sarah fooled us all. I silenced my phone. Not tonight. Instead, I focused on the dinner celebration with Tom and Jessica. To your promotion, Tom raised his glass. Head of digital marketing. And to karma. Jessica smirked, clinking her glass against mine. To new beginnings, I added, squeezing Tom's hand. The custody hearing had been brutal. Sarah's history of violence, the financial fraud, the documented outbursts. It all came out. Primary custody awarded to the father, the judge ruled. Supervised visitation only upon release and completion of anger management. Karen's reputation crumbled. More family members cut contact. Even her own sister publicly denounced her. Enabling abuse isn't love, she wrote. You help destroy lives. Mike appeared at my office one afternoon looking haggard. Amy, I'm so sorry. I should have believed you. I met his eyes. Yes, you should have. He exhaled, rubbing his face. The kids miss their aunt. I softened, but only slightly. Mike, I love those kids, but I need time. A lot of time. He nodded, understanding finally settling in his eyes. Tom moved in last month. His cafe now supplies our office's catering, where I just got promoted to director. Remember when Sarah said you just played office? Jessica laughed over our weekly coffee meetup. Now she's learning real consequences, Linda added, having become a close friend. The restraining order arrived yesterday. 5 years. Protecting me. Tom, Jessica. Sarah's face in court when her past victims testified. Priceless. Karen still posts occasionally. A mother's love knows no bounds, fighting this injustice. But now, people respond with newspaper clippings, Sarah's crimes, workplace violence reports, court documents. The truth won, not through revenge, through justice. Yesterday, I visited the kids. Mike's new girlfriend, a kind kindergarten teacher, welcomed me. She actually asked before making plans. Later that night, Tom and I watched the sunset from our balcony. Sometimes bad things lead to good endings, he mused. I smiled. Not endings, new beginnings. Sarah has 5 more months in jail. Karen lost her social standing. But me? I'm thriving. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well. And boy, am I living well. What would you do if you were Amy? When Mike came to apologize, would you give him another chance? Or would you maintain strong boundaries, even if it meant losing contact with your nieces and nephew? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've ever had to make tough choices about toxic family members, your story might help someone else. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming toxicity and finding strength in setting boundaries. Hi, I'm Teresa. Looking back on that spring afternoon during my sophomore year of college, I wish I'd seen the warning signs. I was 19, focused on my psychology major, and living at home to save money. Life was pretty normal, until my parents dropped a bombshell over Sunday dinner. Teresa, sweetie, we need to discuss something important, Mom began, her voice unnervingly sweet, the kind of tone she uses when she's about to say something I won't like. Marcus and Diana's daughter Katie is going through some family troubles, she said. She needs a place to stay for a while. I nodded, assuming they meant the guest room. Sure, that's fine. Dad cleared his throat. Well, Katie needs a proper bedroom. She's still in high school, and we think she'd be more comfortable in your room. My fork clattered against my plate. What? Where am I supposed to sleep? The garage is insulated, Mom said brightly. We can set up a nice space for you there. You're in college now, Teresa. You need to learn to be more accommodating. That night, I called my best friend Ashley and my cousin Emma on a 3-way call. They're making me move to the garage for some kid I've never even met. That's messed up, Ashley said. Your parents are seriously choosing their friend's kid over you. Emma chimed in. I get that Katie's parents are their friends, but still the garage? That's just wrong. The next day, Katie arrived. She looked like the Disney Channel version of a troubled teen, perfectly styled hair, expensive clothes, and a practiced sad smile. My parents hovered around her like she was made of glass. Teresa, help Katie settle in, Mom ordered, as I watched them haul my things to the garage. Your room is so cute, Katie gushed, running her fingers over my corkboard of photos. Oh, but these pictures are kind of childish. Mind if I take them down? Before I could respond, she was already pulling at my memories, accidentally tearing my favorite photo of Ashley and Emma. Oops. Sorry. She didn't sound sorry. Good thing you're moving to the garage, she added with a smirk. Now I can make this room more mature. That night, lying on a makeshift bed between boxes of Christmas decorations and Dad's old golf clubs, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Ashley. Something's not right about Katie. She's giving me bad vibes. Seconds later, Emma replied. Did some digging. Katie's family troubles might not be what they seem. Want me to investigate? I stared at my phone, remembering Katie's smirk as she tore my photo. Yes, I typed back. Find everything you can. 2 weeks into my exile, I caught Katie in the kitchen talking to Mom. I'm just so worried about Teresa, she said softly, her voice trembling with fake concern. She seems so angry lately. Yesterday, she practically slammed the door when I tried to talk to her. I hadn't slammed any doors. I've been avoiding her entirely. Mom nodded sympathetically. It's just really hard, Katie continued, dabbing at non-existent tears. I thought we could be like sisters, but she keeps giving me these hostile looks. Maybe this was a mistake. I could try finding somewhere else. No, sweetie, Mom rushed to assure her. Teresa just needs to adjust her attitude. I'll talk to her. That talk turned into a lecture about being more welcoming and less selfish. When I tried to explain Katie's behavior, Mom shut me down. She's been through so much with her family situation. But Emma's investigation told a different story. Teresa, Katie's lying, Emma told me during a secret coffee shop meeting. I talked to my friend who went to her old school. There's no family trouble, her parents are fine. She's pulled similar stunts at 2 other friends' houses. Ashley, who had been furiously documenting everything in her notebook, leaned forward. It's a pattern. Every time you're out, Katie had been slowly destroying my life under the guise of accidents. First, my laptop mysteriously fell off my desk. Then, my textbooks were ruined when a conveniently leaky water bottle drenched them. My remaining photos? They disappeared because the wind supposedly blew them away. The garage itself had become a nightmare. Random puddles appeared near my bed, and the heating malfunctioned on the coldest nights. We need more evidence, Emma said, showing us texts from Katie's old school friend. Look at this. Katie's done this before, manipulating parents into taking her in, pushing out their kids, and moving on when the truth starts to catch up with her. Ashley leaned forward, phone in hand. Watch this. She pressed play on a video she'd recorded in the garage. It showed Katie deliberately pouring water near my bed, then running to my parents to claim there was a leak that might damage their precious storage boxes. Dad's response: moving my bed to an even colder corner of the garage. I'm done being the bad guy in her story, I said, glaring through the kitchen window where Katie played the perfect houseguest, helping Mom with dinner. That evening, Katie came to the garage with her signature fake concern. Teresa, your mom wants you to join us for dinner. She's worried you're isolating yourself out here. She glanced at Ashley and Emma, her smile tightening. Oh, were you having a private meeting? I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. Her tone was sweet, but her eyes carried a warning. She knew we were on to her. Emma's detective work was paying off. We uncovered the truth about Katie's past through old friends and families who had hosted her before. Here's the Thompson family, Emma said, pointing to her laptop. Katie stayed with them, claiming her parents were divorcing. Then the Wilsons, she said their house had black mold. And the Camerons, she claimed her parents were temporarily relocating for work. But her parents never moved or divorced, I added, my anger simmering. Ashley played more recordings she'd secretly made. In one, Katie told my mom her family was dealing with financial troubles. In another, she mentioned a terminal illness. Each story contradicted the last. We have enough proof, Ashley said firmly. It's time to show your parents. The confrontation went as disastrously as I expected. I laid out everything, the families, the inconsistencies, the deliberate sabotage of my things. Mom and Dad sat in silence until Mom finally spoke. I can't believe you're so jealous that you'd make up these lies, she said, shaking her head. Katie warned us you might do this. Of course she did. I exploded. She's manipulating you. Dad stood up, angry. That's enough, Teresa. Katie's going through a difficult time, and instead of helping, you're inventing conspiracy theories. Right on cue, Katie appeared, tears already streaming down her face. I heard everything, she whispered. I knew Teresa hated me, but I never thought she'd make up such horrible stories about my family. The next day, my psychology project, a presentation worth 40% of my grade, was corrupted on my laptop. Katie had been alone in the garage earlier, supposedly looking for cleaning supplies. Looks like your computer caught a virus, she said, her fake sympathy as sharp as a knife. Maybe keeping it in the garage wasn't such a good idea. All that dust and moisture. That was the last straw. Ashley and Emma helped me set up hidden cameras, one in the garage, 2 in common areas, and a pin-sized one on my backpack. Emma borrowed audio recorders from her journalism class. Let's catch her red-handed, Ashley said as we placed the final camera. She can't lie her way out of video evidence. Be careful, Emma warned. My research shows she gets nasty when cornered. The Cameron's daughter ended up with a broken arm in a suspicious accident. I looked around at my makeshift bedroom, the water-stained books, the ruined project. Let her try. I'm done being her victim. Katie didn't disappoint. Over the next few days, the cameras caught everything, her sneaking into the garage at night, damaging my things and smirking as she spun sob stories to my parents. One clip even showed her on the phone, boasting about how she manipulated her way into our house. The real bombshell came during the monthly neighborhood dinner at our house. Everyone was there, including Katie's parents, Marcus and Diana. Katie was in rare form, playing the part of the perfect, troubled teen. Ashley nudged me under the table and passed me her phone. Watch this, she whispered. The video showed Katie in my room, pacing while on a call. Can you believe these idiots? She said, laughing. They actually put their daughter in the garage, just like the Thompsons and the others. Parents are so stupid. They'll believe anything if you cry enough. I give it another month before I found my next words. I stood up, my hands trembling. Everyone needs to see something, I announced. Despite my parents' protests, I plugged Ashley's phone into the TV and hit play. The room fell deathly silent as Katie's true face emerged on screen. Hours of footage rolled, her sabotaging my belongings, lying to my parents, and bragging in phone calls about her manipulations. Katie's mother, Diana, turned ghostly pale. Katie, what is this? It's obviously fake, Katie stammered, her voice rising in panic. But Emma wasn't done. She pressed play on the audio recordings, Katie spinning different stories about her troubled family to various people. Each lie contradicted the last. We contacted the other families, I said firmly, the Thompsons, the Wilsons, and the Camerons. They confirmed everything. The aftermath was explosive. Katie's mask shattered, and she started screaming, her carefully crafted facade disintegrating before everyone's eyes. Her parents looked horrified, especially as the depth of her manipulations became clear. She needs professional help, Marcus, her father, said, his voice unsteady. This ends now. Within days, Katie was enrolled in a therapeutic boarding school. The community's reaction was swift and damning. Neighbors who had once looked at me with disapproval now couldn't apologize enough. As for my parents, they tried too. Teresa, we're so sorry, Mom sobbed one evening. We should have believed you. I stared at her, calm but resolute. You chose a stranger over your own daughter. You put me in the garage. You called me a liar and jealous. Some things can't be fixed with an apology. Emma had already offered me her spare room. Stay with me while you finish college, she insisted. No garages, no manipulation, no drama. I moved out the next day. My parents kept calling, sending messages, even showing up at Emma's place with my old room key. We've kept your room exactly as it was, Dad pleaded. Please, Teresa, we'll do anything to make it right. You already did everything, I replied coldly. You showed me exactly who you are and where I stand with you. I'm not interested in a relationship with people who could treat their daughter that way. Looking back, exposing Katie was almost worth the pain, almost. She lost her perfect reputation, her victims were validated, and her parents finally saw her for who she was. My parents, however, lost something far more valuable, their daughter's trust and respect. As for me, I'm thriving. Living with Emma, my grades have recovered, and I'm excelling in my psychology major, with a focus on manipulative behavior. The garage may have been cold, but it taught me the warmth of standing up for myself and choosing my own family. My story went viral on social media, and I've connected with others who faced similar betrayals. Together, we're building a support network to help people recognize and protect themselves from manipulators like Katie. My parents still reach out every few months. Last week, I received an email from them. The house feels so empty without you, it read. I marked it as read, then closed the tab. Some say forgiveness is the key to moving forward, but I disagree. Sometimes moving forward means leaving toxic people behind, even if they're family. The strongest move isn't always about getting even. Hi, I'm Deborah. Life-changing moments, they don't announce themselves. For me, it was 8 years ago on what was supposed to be a carefree family ski trip. I was 18, fresh out of high school, thinking I had everything figured out. Funny how certainty crumbles in an instant. Just one more run before sunset. I called to my parents from the top of the slope. Mom was fussing with her goggles while Dad checked his phone, as usual. They waved me off with distracted smiles, unaware it would be the last time they saw me standing. I didn't see the ice patch. One moment, I was flying down the slope, wind in my face. The next, darkness. When I woke up in the hospital, the words hit me like a second crash. Paralyzed from the waist down. At 18, but the real pain came later, watching my parents' faces change over the weeks that followed. We're just stepping out for coffee, honey, Mom would say, staying away longer each time. Dad barely met my eyes, muttering excuses about insurance and work. Only my brother, Carl, stayed. He'd camp out by my bedside, his laptop balanced on his knees, working remotely. Those physical therapy bills won't pay themselves, he joked, but I saw the lines of worry deepening on his 24-year-old face. They're just processing everything. Carl reassured me when I asked why our parents' visits grew shorter. Give them time. Time revealed the truth. One morning, a nurse handed me a letter, Mom's elegant handwriting spelling out devastation. We can't handle this, Deborah. We never signed up for a disabled daughter. The insurance will cover your medical bills. Carl will handle the rest. I stared at the words, my chest hollow. Later that day, Sophia, my best friend since middle school, stormed into my room to find me clutching the letter. Those cowards couldn't even say it to your face. She spat, her hands trembling as she read it. What kind of parents just leave? I asked through tears. The kind who don't deserve you, Carl said, stepping into the room with a fierce determination. I've already called work. I'm taking over as your primary caregiver. But your career in Seattle, I protested, can be managed remotely. Besides, Sophia's tech startup idea needs a financial advisor, right? Sophia's eyes brightened. Our accessibility app. Deborah, you're still the best coder I know. Chair or not, your brain is what we need. That was 8 years ago. Today, our company, Access Tech Solutions, is transforming lives for people with disabilities. Carl manages finances, Sophia oversees operations, and I lead development. We're proof that family isn't always blood. Miss Chen, your 2 o'clock appointment is here. My assistant's voice crackles through the intercom. Thanks, send them in. I reply, turning my wheelchair toward the door. It opens and my heart stops. Standing there, looking older but unmistakably them, are my parents. Hello, Deborah, Mom says softly. You look successful, Dad adds with a strained smile. I grip the armrests of my wheelchair, steadying myself against the surge of anger and grief. 8 years of abandonment meet 2 desperate faces. The game they're playing is written all over them. Let the real story begin. Minutes after they leave, Sophia bursts into my office. I saw them in the lobby. Please tell me you didn't fall for whatever sob story they fed you. I stare at the business card Mom left behind. They want to have dinner tonight, to explain everything. Absolutely not, Carl's voice booms from my speakerphone. Not without me there. They said they've regretted their decision every day for 8 years. I murmur, the words tasting bitter. How convenient their regret surfaces right after Access Tech makes Forbes 30 under 30, Sophia says, her fingers flying over her tablet. Wait a sec, here we go. She turns the screen toward me. Your parents' social media accounts. My stomach tightens as I scroll. Photos of yacht parties in Monaco, skiing in the Alps, wine tasting in Tuscany. But one post freezes me in place. Look at this poor deer trying to wheel through cobblestones, reads the caption under a photo of a person in a wheelchair struggling on a Parisian street. So glad we didn't burden ourselves with that life. The air feels heavy. There's more, Sophia says quietly. More mocking captions, more celebrations of their freedom, more proof they never changed. Miss Chen, your parents are insisting on speaking with you again. My assistant says, her voice tinged with concern. Before I can respond, the door bursts open. Mom's perfectly composed face now looks strained, and Dad's designer suit is rumpled. Deborah, honey, we need to talk. Privately, Mom glances pointedly at Sophia. Anything you need to say, you can say in front of my family, I reply, emphasizing the word. It makes them flinch. Dad steps forward, his posture stiff. We've hit a rough patch. Some investments went wrong. How much? I ask flatly. $2 million, he admits, his voice barely above a whisper. But it's not just about money. We really do want to make amends. Really? I say, pulling up their social media posts on my computer screen. Is that why you mocked disabled people online? To make amends. Mom's face drains of color, and Dad stumbles over excuses. Get out, I whisper, then louder. Get out. You don't understand. Mom pleads. Those posts. We were hurting. Hurting. Carl's voice booms as he strides into the room, clearly having broken every speed limit to get here. You want to talk about hurting? Try watching your teenage sister learn to live without her legs while her parents walked away. We're still her parents. Dad tries to stand his ground. No, Carl says coldly, stepping between them and me. You're just opportunists who see a cash cow in the daughter you abandoned. Now, get out before I call security. They leave, but not before Mom turns back, her voice brittle. We're not giving up, Deborah. We'll prove we've changed. After they're gone, Sophia holds up her phone. They've been contacting other successful entrepreneurs with disabilities. Same story, estranged parents seeking reconciliation. Always right when their kids hit peak success. They won't stop, will they? I ask, exhaustion seeping into my voice. Carl puts a steadying hand on my shoulder. No, but neither will we. Sophia's eyes gleam with determination. The Disability Tech Conference is next month. They'll definitely try something there. I glance between my brother and best friend, feeling the fire reignite inside me. Then let's be ready. The Disability Tech Conference is the biggest event in our industry. Normally, I'd be excited. But as I watch my parents work the room from my spot near the stage, all I feel is disgust. They're good, I'll give them that. They've convinced half the room they're devoted parents of a disabled entrepreneur, Sophia whispers, pretending to check my presentation slides. I watch Mom dab fake tears while chatting with a potential investor. Did you get everything? I ask. Oh yeah, Sophia pulls out her phone. Every conversation they've had this week, including the one where they called you their meal ticket at the hotel bar last night. Mrs. Chen is quite the actress, my assistant comments, wheeling over. She just told a Bloomberg reporter how she spent years helping you adapt to your wheelchair. Funny, since she wasn't even in the country. Carl approaches, adjusting his tie. I've got something better. Remember Jeremy Wong, the developer who turned them down last month? Turns out they pulled the same routine with 3 other disabled entrepreneurs. Jeremy's got signed statements from all of them. Your parents have been running the sympathy scam for over a year. Mom spots me and waves enthusiastically. Deborah, darling, come meet Mr. Patterson. He's fascinated by your journey. Showtime, I mutter, wheeling over. I was just telling Mr. Patterson how we've supported you every step of the way. Mom gushes. Really? I reply, my voice icy. Tell him about the steps I took in Paris. Her face freezes. You know, when you photographed and mocked a disabled person struggling with cobblestones. Mr. Patterson's eyebrows shoot up. That's not, we were in a bad place then, Dad stammers. Like when you were in Monaco or Tuscany? I retort, pulling out my tablet. Would you like to see their social media posts, Mr. Patterson? They're quite enlightening. This is hardly the place, Mom hisses, her composure cracking. You're right, the stage would be better. I wheel toward the podium. My keynote starts in 2 minutes. Deborah, please, Dad says, grabbing my wheelchair. Bad move. Take your hands off my chair, I say loudly enough for heads to turn. Unlike my legs, my voice works perfectly, and I'm not afraid to use it. Security approaches as Carl steps in. Is there a problem here? No problem, Mom says, her voice suddenly sugary sweet. We're just having a family discussion. Family? I laugh bitterly. Let's talk about family. Let's talk about how you abandoned your paralyzed teenage daughter. How you mocked disabled people online while living it up in Europe. How you only came back when you needed money. A crowd gathers. Phones are recording. You're twisting everything. Dad protests weakly. Sophia steps forward, her phone playing the hotel bar recording. Once we get the money from our crippled cash cow, we can finally retire properly. Gasps ripple through the crowd as Mom's mask shatters completely. My keynote today was supposed to be about overcoming challenges, I say, addressing the stunned audience. I think I'll talk about recognizing toxic people instead, starting with the ones who see their disabled daughter as nothing more than a bank account. You'll regret this, Mom hisses under her breath. I wheel onto the stage ramp, my voice steady and clear. No, Mom. The only thing I regret is ever thinking I wasn't enough. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a speech to give. As security escorts them out, I catch Carl and Sophia's proud smiles. The real show is about to begin. My conference speech goes viral overnight. #ToxicParents and #disability rights trend for days. But the real storm hits when journalists dig deeper. Another family has come forward, Sophia announces, dropping a tablet in my lap. Their disabled son was approached by our parents 3 months ago. Same story, same sympathy play, same attempt to get investment money. How many does that make now? I ask, scrolling through the article. 7 confirmed cases, Carl says, looking up from his laptop, plus dozens of suspicious connections. Their reputation is completely destroyed. My phone buzzes. Mom again. Her desperate voicemails have grown increasingly hostile over the past week. I press play on the latest one. You've ruined us. Her voice crackles through the speaker. We're your parents, we gave you life. And I gave you consequences, I murmur, blocking their number for the final time. Speaking of consequences, Sophia grins, pulling up a news site. Your parents' business partners want nothing to do with them. That investment firm your dad worked with, they've cut all ties. Their social circles have abandoned them too, Carl adds. Turns out rich people don't like being associated with publicly exposed toxic parents. Who knew? A notification pops up on my screen. A message from Jeremy Wong. They're selling their house, I say, reading aloud. Moving to some small town in Idaho. Guess Monaco's off the table now. Good, I say, feeling lighter than I have in years. Let them live with their choices, just like I had to live with mine. Miss Chen, my assistant, pokes her head in. The Disability Foundation is on line 1. They want to partner with Access Tech for a nationwide accessibility initiative. I catch my reflection in the office window, sitting straight in my wheelchair, surrounded by real family. Put them through. And that's not all, Sophia says, practically bouncing with excitement. Remember that investor your mom was crying to at the conference? Mr. Patterson. I raise an eyebrow. He wants to fund our new education program for disabled youth. Really? $10 million worth of really, Carl says, sliding over the proposal. He said, and I quote, "True family stands by you. Let's help kids who need that support." My eyes water as I read the details. A tech education center designed specifically for disabled youth. Scholarships, mentorship programs. Everything we dreamed of creating. You know what this means, I say, looking at my real family. We can help make sure no other disabled person feels as alone as I did. About that, Sophia says, pulling up a calendar. We've received hundreds of messages from disabled individuals sharing similar stories of family abandonment. They're asking for support groups, resources. Then let's give it to them, I decide. The center can have a community space too. No one should face this alone. Carl squeezes my shoulder. Mom and Dad thought they were ruining you by leaving. Instead, they made you stronger. No, I correct him, holding out my hands to my brother and best friend. You two made me stronger. They just made me angry. And now, I take a deep breath, the fire in my chest steady and bright. Now we're going to use that anger to help others rise. Sophia wipes her eyes, trying to look professional and failing. So, boss lady, ready to change more lives? Let's get to work, I say, pushing through the doors to our future. We've got people to help and lives to change. Some say success is the best revenge. I say using that success to help others is even better. Hi, I'm Lena. Today, I want to share my story. A story about family, power, and finding my voice. A woman's place is not in business meetings, my father-in-law, Frank, declared at yet another tense family dinner. Ben needs a wife who focuses on family, not spreadsheets. I felt my husband tense beside me but say nothing. 6 months into our marriage and I was already learning that Frank's word was law in this family. Actually, I said with a polite smile, the project I'm managing just landed $1 million client. Frank's face hardened. Numbers are a man's domain, right, Ben? Ben stared at his plate, avoiding my eyes. Dad has years of experience, Lena. I met Ben at a finance conference 2 years ago. He had been so different then, confident, full of ideas. But that was before Frank began inserting himself into every aspect of our lives. My best friend Amy warned me about this. I thought bitterly. His father runs that family like a dictatorship, she'd said. And she was right. Every Sunday dinner felt like a trial, with Frank presiding as judge and jury. Even at our housewarming, Frank had something to criticize. The house you bought is too small, he declared. No room for grandchildren. We're focusing on our careers first, I replied. Frank slammed his hand on the table. Family comes first. Always. Ben knows this, don't you, son? Yes, Dad, Ben mumbled. Frank even dismissed Ben's career. Banking isn't real business, he'd say. Real men build things like my construction company. When are you joining the family business, son? Ben's mother, Susan, stayed silent, refilling wine glasses with trembling hands. His sister, Jenny, only spoke when Frank addressed her directly. They're all scared of him, Amy observed after meeting them. Have you noticed how they freeze when he raises his voice? Lately, Frank's suggestions had turned into something darker. A tight grip on my shoulder if I disagreed with him. Standing too close, towering over me when making his points. Intimidation cloaked as conversation. Just smile and nod, Susan whispered during dish duty one evening. It's easier that way. But I wasn't raised to smile and nod. The problem was, every time I stood my ground, Frank's eyes would narrow, and his presence became more menacing. Last week, I made the mistake of mentioning my plans to expand my department at work. Frank grabbed my wrists, pretending to admire my watch. Such expensive taste, he sneered. Ben's salary not good enough for you. Let go, I said firmly. His grip tightened. Disrespectful. This generation of women thinks they know better than their elders. Ben saw it all, and, as always, said nothing. Sunday dinners became weekly nightmares. Frank's grip over the family tightened as he sensed my resistance. One morning, I found Ben in our home office, shredding a letter, a promotion offer, one that would have required us to move. Why? I demanded. I don't care, he said flatly. It would mean moving branches, and Dad says I need to stay close to home. A better position, a higher salary, all gone because Frank said no. That evening at dinner, the promotion news slipped out anyway. Frank's fork clattered against his plate. Abandoning family for money, he snapped. First Lena poisons you with her career ambitions, and now this. It's just an offer, Dad, Ben murmured, his voice shaking. I haven't decided, Frank declared, standing abruptly. Susan flinched at his movement. When I started this family business, my father told me. Maybe Ben wants his own path, I interrupted, my voice calm but firm. The room fell silent. Jenny froze mid-breath, her fork hovering. Susan gripped her napkin tightly. Frank stepped behind my chair, his hands heavy on my shoulders. You've forgotten your place again, he hissed. My place is supporting my husband's dreams, I said, refusing to waver. His fingers dug into my shoulders painfully. Your place is wherever I say it is. I built this family. I decide what's best. Dad. Ben's voice was hesitant, barely audible. Maybe ease up a bit. Frank shoved my chair forward. She's made you weak. All her independent woman nonsense. That night, Ben slept in the guest room. Just give him time to calm down, I told myself. But Frank wasn't calming down. Every week brought new tests of control. He accidentally spilled coffee on my laptop before a client meeting. He showed up unannounced at my office, claiming to check on Ben's wife. He started suggesting, in veiled tones at dinner, that I might be cheating because of my late nights. No smoke without fire, he'd say, looking straight at Ben. I watched my husband shrink smaller each week, retreating into his father's shadow. Then one day, I found construction documents in our mailbox. Plans for a nursery Frank had drafted without asking us. I already paid the crew, Frank announced smugly at Sunday dinner. They start Monday. No, I said, my voice steady. We're not ready for children. His face twisted into something ugly. You don't get a vote. This is family business. I was done being quiet. Everyone, I have an announcement, Frank began at the next Sunday dinner, puffing his chest with pride. The family business just landed the new mall contract. The usual chorus of praise began. Susan clapped softly, Jenny nodded eagerly, and Ben beamed at his father. But something felt off. Wasn't that project awarded to Mitchell Construction? I asked, my voice cutting through the room. The temperature seemed to drop 20 degrees. What did you say? Frank's voice was deadly quiet. I saw the paperwork last week. Mitchell Construction won the bid. Are you calling me a liar? He stepped toward me, his face darkening. I'm saying you're wrong. I replied evenly. The mall project went to Mitchell. Your bid was rejected. How dare you? Frank slammed both hands on the table, making the plates rattle. Some paper-pushing woman thinks she knows more than me. The numbers don't lie, Frank. Your bid was too high. Your company's financials weren't strong enough. Shut your mouth, he roared. His face turned purple with rage. Maybe if you spent less time controlling everyone and more time managing your business properly. The slap echoed through the dining room. My cheek burned. Susan gasped. Jenny began to cry. Lena, Ben finally spoke, his voice trembling. Apologize to Dad. Right now. I touched my stinging face, staring at him in disbelief. Apologize? You disrespected him in his own house. Frank smirked, victorious. Listen to my son. Know your place. That was the moment everything became crystal clear. This wasn't about business or family, it was about power. I stood slowly, my chair scraping back against the floor. Your son. You and your puppet. Get out of my house, Frank roared. Gladly. I turned to Ben. Are you coming? He looked between us, lost and trapped. Dad's right, he whispered. You went too far. I nodded slowly. Yeah, I did. I went too far thinking you'd ever be strong enough to stand up to him. As I walked out, I heard Frank's triumphant laugh. Women these days think they know everything. But he had made one crucial mistake. He thought this was over. It wasn't, not even close. Monday morning, I walked into my office with purpose. As head of construction financing, I had access to every major project bid in the area, including Frank's. A pattern quickly emerged: inflated bids, poor financial planning, a business running on reputation rather than results. 3 failed projects in 6 months, complaints about missed deadlines, workers quitting over Frank's temper. The rejection of the mall contract had hit him hard. A colleague mentioned his company was counting on it, using it as collateral for other loans. Everything clicked. Frank wasn't just a bully, he was a desperate one. The annual industry dinner couldn't have come at a better time. Everyone who mattered would be there. Contractors, developers, bankers. I made sure to sit with Mitchell Construction's CEO. Frank's quite traditional in his business approach, I said loudly enough to carry. Some might say, outdated. Right on cue, Frank appeared at our table, his face already red. Lena, he thundered. What are you doing discussing business? Frank sneered as he approached the table. I smiled sweetly. Oh, just talking about those numbers you think women can't possibly understand. You have no right. Like you had no right to lie about winning the mall contract. My voice carried across the room. Conversations halted and heads turned. Frank's face darkened. I built this industry, he thundered, his voice rising. Before your generation came in with your fancy degrees and progressive ideas. Is that why you lost the mall contract? I asked, tilting my head. Too many fancy degrees involved, or was it the financial irregularities in your bid? Frank's composure cracked. You little. He stepped toward me, hand raised, just like he had at dinner. I didn't flinch. Going to slap me here too? I asked, my voice loud and steady. In front of all your business associates, just like you did at Sunday dinner. He froze. The room was silent, the weight of my words hanging in the air. Mitchell Construction's CEO stood, his expression sharp. What's that about slapping? Frank's mask slipped completely. She's lying. Women always lie. Just like when they said my bid numbers didn't add up. The room stirred. More people stood, more questions followed. Each answer made Frank angrier, his true nature unraveling for all to see. This is family business, he roared, desperate to regain control. Family? I repeated calmly. Like how you control Ben's career, or how Susan's too afraid to speak, or how you forced Jenny to quit college. Frank sputtered, but it was too late. His own words had condemned him. Every misogynistic rant, every threat, every failed project spilled out in front of the entire industry. By the end of the week, 3 developers canceled contracts with Frank's company. 4 more followed shortly after. No one wanted to work with a man who couldn't control his temper or his business. 3 weeks later, Ben called. His voice was heavy with regret. Dad's drinking. Mom moved in with her sister. The business is failing. And us? I asked, though I already knew the answer. There was silence on the line. Then, I'm sorry. I should have protected you that night, but I didn't. I chose him, like I always did. Some choices you can't take back, Ben. I know, he said, his voice breaking. I've started therapy. Turns out a lot of us needed help dealing with Dad. But I understand if it's too late for us. It was. I had already contacted a divorce lawyer. The papers arrived a week later. Frank made one last attempt at control, storming into my office unannounced. Fix this, he demanded. Fix what? I asked calmly. Your reputation, your business, your broken family? I leaned back in my chair. No, Frank, you destroyed everything. His face twisted with anger. You. No, Frank, you did that yourself, one slap at a time. The fallout was inevitable. Frank's company went under within months. He lives alone now, in a small apartment, still ranting about how women ruin the business world. Susan filed for divorce. Jenny went back to college, finally chasing her dreams. Ben moved across the country, determined to start fresh, far from his father's shadow. The divorce was finalized quietly. Ben sent one last email. "You were right all along. I was never strong enough to stand up to him. I hope someday I can be as brave as you. As for me, I just got promoted to senior executive. My new office overlooks the mall project, the one that started it all. Mitchell Construction is doing a fantastic job with it. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about standing back and letting them destroy themselves. Frank did that perfectly. All I had to do was ensure everyone was watching when he did. My place was exactly where I belonged all along, standing up for myself, even if it meant standing alone." Hi, I'm Sandra. You know the saying, when you marry someone, you marry their whole family? Let me tell you about the nightmare that came with my otherwise perfect marriage. James and I had dated for 2 blissful years before tying the knot in a gorgeous spring ceremony. It was straight out of a fairy tale until my mother-in-law, Diana, decided I wasn't the princess her story needed. "Oh, sweetie, that's not how we fold napkins in this family," Diana said during my first family dinner as a newlywed, her perfectly manicured hands snatching the fabric from mine. "James has always loved them folded into swans, haven't you, darling?" James gave a weak smile. Mom's really particular about these things. That should have been my first red flag. But I was so desperate to be the perfect daughter-in-law that I spent 3 hours that night watching YouTube tutorials on napkin folding. Ridiculous, right? The little comments kept piling up. "James looks a bit thin. Are you cooking enough protein? We always spend summers at the lake house." "Sandra, I'm sure you can take time off work, can't you, dear?" Each one was delivered with a saccharine smile that never quite reached her eyes. I tried everything to win Diana's approval. I brought her favorite wines, remembered every birthday and anniversary, asked for her recipes, and embraced her family traditions. But no matter how hard I tried, I always seemed to fall short of her impossible standards. Then came Thanksgiving, the breaking point. "What do you mean we're going to your mom's for Thanksgiving?" I asked James, confused. "I thought we were having dinner at your parents' place. Diana's been talking about it for weeks." "Mom says she told you," he replied casually. "She had to cut the guest list because Aunt Martha's bringing her boyfriend's whole family. She figured you'd understand since you're not really into traditional family stuff anyway." My heart sank. "James, she never told me. This is the first I'm hearing about it." "Come on, Sandra. Mom wouldn't lie about that. You probably just forgot. You've been so busy with work lately." That's when it hit me. Diana hadn't forgotten to invite me. She deliberately excluded me and twisted the story to make me look like the problem. "Your mother is lying, James. She's been doing this since day one." His voice turned cold. "Don't start this again. Mom's been nothing but welcoming to you. You're the one always looking for problems where there aren't any." I went to bed alone that night, listening to James call his mother to apologize for my attitude. As I lay there, something shifted inside me. Diana wanted to play games. Fine. But she was about to learn that this daughter-in-law wasn't going to roll over and take it anymore. After Thanksgiving, the tension escalated into psychological warfare. Diana brought in reinforcements, her best friend, Karen, who suddenly appeared at every family gathering. I catch them whispering, their conversation halting the second I entered the room. "I just don't know what to do anymore." I overheard Diana lamenting to Karen at a barbecue. "She's so controlling. Poor James can barely spend time with his family without her making a scene. Have you noticed how she always has to be the center of attention?" Karen chimed in just loud enough for others to hear. "And that dress she wore to church last month? Completely inappropriate." For the record, I hadn't even been to church last month. I was stuck at home with the flu, but none of that mattered in Diana's carefully crafted narrative. The rumors spread like wildfire. Family members who used to greet me warmly now gave me strange, suspicious looks. Weekend brunches turned into minefields of passive-aggressive comments and subtle exclusions. Then, something unexpected happened. Sarah, James's sister, cornered me in the kitchen during a family dinner. "I see what she's doing to you," she said, her voice low but resolute. "Mom pulled the same stuff with my college boyfriends, the ones she didn't approve of." "You believe me?" I asked, almost afraid to hope. Hard not to when you're watching history repeat itself, she said with a grim smile. Michael and I only survived because he stood up to her early on. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. Finally, someone else saw the truth. But Diana wasn't done. A week before Christmas, she dropped her biggest bomb yet. I'm hosting a special family-only Christmas dinner this year, she announced at Sunday dinner. Just parents and children. A return to tradition. Mom, Sandra is family, James said, surprising everyone, including me. Oh honey, of course she is, Diana replied, her tone syrupy. But I meant blood family. You understand, don't you, Sandra? Before I could respond, Sarah cut in. Actually, Mom, Michael and I won't be able to make it either then. Since he's not blood family. The room went dead silent. Diana's perfect mask slipped for just a moment, revealing the anger underneath. Sarah, that's different. Michael and I have a special relationship. Really? Because I remember you trying to exclude him our first 2 Christmases together. James's gaze flickered between his sister and mother, confusion etched on his face. You did the same thing with Aunt Linda's husband, he said slowly, before Uncle Rick put his foot down. That was completely different. Diana's voice rose slightly. I don't understand why everyone's attacking me when all I'm doing is trying to preserve our family traditions. But the damage was done. For the first time, James didn't immediately jump to his mother's defense when I later brought up my concerns. I always thought Sarah was exaggerating about how Mom treated Michael at first, he said quietly. Maybe I've been missing some things. It wasn't a full awakening, but it was a crack in Diana's perfect facade, and I intended to make that crack grow. Looking back, that was the night everything truly began to change. Diana had overplayed her hand, though she didn't realize it yet. Sarah and I became cover operators in our own family drama. She forwarded me screenshots of family group chats I'd mysteriously been left out of, while I kept a meticulous log of every interaction, every forgotten invitation, every backhanded comment. One afternoon, Michael showed us his phone. He'd accidentally been included in a group text meant for Karen. Diana's literally orchestrating who sits where at family dinners to isolate you, he said, scrolling through the messages. She's got diagrams and everything. I can't believe she's put this much effort into making my life miserable, I muttered. Oh, it gets better, Sarah said with a smirk. Remember Linda's husband, Tom? He reached out after Christmas. Apparently, Diana pulled the same stunts with him until Rick threatened to cut her off from the grandkids. The evidence kept piling up. Robert, Diana's usually silent husband, overheard her plotting with Karen in their home office. We need to push harder, Diana said. James is still too attached. If we can just get him to see how she's changing him. Maybe another family emergency when she's planned something important, Karen suggested. Robert, finally fed up, recorded the entire conversation. The dam broke as people began comparing notes. Years of Diana's manipulation came to light. Cousin Donna's husband had been excluded from family photos. Uncle Steve's wife had never been invited to girls' shopping trips. The pattern went back decades. But Diana wasn't going down without a fight. Sarah's baby shower became ground zero. I was hanging decorations when Diana burst in with Karen at her heels. I know what you're doing, she hissed at me, turning my own family against me, poisoning my son's mind. Mom, stop it, Sarah tried to intervene. And you? Diana rounded on her daughter, siding with her over your own mother. After everything I've done for this family? Everything you've done? Robert's voice came from the doorway. He'd arrived early with Michael. You mean like deliberately excluding our children's spouses, manipulating our son, making our daughter-in-law feel unwelcome in her own family? You don't understand. Diana's voice grew shrill. I'm protecting our family. She's trying to take my son away. No, Mom. James stepped out from behind his father. He'd heard everything. You're the one pushing me away. And I've got proof. The color drained from Diana's face as James held up his phone, showing the group chat screenshots Michael had uncovered. I wanted to believe you, James said quietly, his voice trembling. But Sarah was right, James said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. You did this to her and Michael. You've done it to everyone who married into our family. And worst of all, I let you do it to my wife. Diana's eyes darted around the room, seeking an ally, but all she saw were unsympathetic faces. Even Karen, her most loyal accomplice, took a step back, unwilling to be caught in the fallout. "This isn't over," Diana snapped, grabbing her purse. "This is my family, mine." She stormed out, leaving the baby shower in chaos. As the door slammed behind her, I caught Robert's eye. He gave me a subtle nod of reassurance. The final confrontation was coming, and this time we were ready. The annual family reunion became the stage for our ultimate act. Diana, oblivious to what was about to unfold, arrived with her usual air of control, her carefully crafted facade intact. She had no idea her world was about to collapse. Robert had insisted on hosting at their house this year, despite Diana's protests. When everyone was seated for lunch, he stood up, commanding the room's attention. "Before we start," he began, his voice firm, "we need to address something as a family." Diana's eyes darted nervously between Robert and Karen, who was suddenly very interested in her phone. "For years, I've watched you manipulate and hurt people in this family," Robert continued, his tone steady but heavy with emotion. "I stayed quiet, hoping you'd change, but after what happened at Sarah's baby shower—" "Robert, this isn't the time," Diana interjected, her voice tight with panic. "Actually, Mom," James said, stepping forward, "it's exactly the time." He pulled out a tablet and began scrolling. "Let's start with the group text where you plan to exclude my wife from family events. Then we'll move on to the recordings of you and Karen plotting to break up my marriage." Karen shot to her feet. "I never meet." "Sit down," Sarah cut in, her voice icy. "We have your messages too. All of them." The evidence unfolded like a tidal wave. Screenshots, recordings, testimonies from family members spanning decades. Diana's face grew paler with each revelation. "You've been coordinating with Karen to spread lies about every person who married into this family," Michael said, holding up a series of message threads. "But you got sloppy. You accidentally included me in some of your group texts." Diana's calm cracked, and she exploded. "I did it for the family," she yelled. "These outsiders come in, trying to change our traditions, taking my children away." "No, Mom," James interrupted sharply. "You did it for control, and you're not going to have that anymore." Diana's face crumpled as she looked around the room, finding no support. She ran from the room in tears, but there was no sympathy in the faces she left behind. Too many people had been hurt for too long. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about building something better from the ashes of what was destroyed. And that's exactly what we did. Diana's grip on the family was broken, and in its place, we created a new kind of bond. One built on honesty, mutual respect, and love. What would you do if your mother-in-law had spent years secretly sabotaging your marriage while pretending to be the perfect family matriarch? Would you expose her to the entire family like Sandra did, or would you handle it differently? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever experienced a situation where an in-law tried to manipulate family members against you? How did you handle it? If you enjoyed Sandra's journey from silently suffering to finally standing up for herself, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. The house was too quiet. That was the first thing I noticed when I walked in that evening, my arms full of grocery bags. Normally, my 5-year-old twins, Ethan and Emma, would be running around, laughing, arguing over toys. But tonight there was nothing, just silence. Melissa, my sister-in-law, was supposed to be babysitting. She had been our go-to for months, always eager to help. Too eager, I would later realize. "Melissa?" I called out, setting the bags on the counter. No answer. I walked through the living room, my heart starting to race. The toys were neatly arranged, too neat. Something felt wrong. The hallway to the kids' room felt longer than usual. With each step, my stomach twisted tighter. Their bedroom door was shut all the way. Melissa never did that. She always left it slightly open because they were afraid of the dark. I pushed it open. Empty. The beds were perfectly made, every toy in its place. No signs of my children. Ethan. Emma. My voice trembled. I checked the bathroom, the closet, the guest room. Nothing. No kids, no Melissa. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Melissa. "We needed some air. Be back soon." The message was 3 hours old. I called my husband Mark, who was away on business. No answer. My panic turned into something worse, a suffocating fear. I called everyone I could think of, neighbors, police, friends. 2 hours and 17 frantic calls later, another text came. They're fine. Don't overreact. Fine. The most dangerous word I had ever read. The police said they couldn't do much. She's family, they told me. These things can be complicated. Complicated. Another meaningless word when your children are missing. Mark caught the first flight home. His mother arrived soon after, her face tight with worry, and something else I couldn't quite place. Melissa wouldn't do anything bad, she kept saying. She loves them. Love. A word that was starting to lose all meaning. 3 days passed. No real leads. Just Melissa's vague messages insisting the kids were safe. Then, a call. Emma's best friend's mother. My daughter said something strange, she told me. A conversation overheard. A child's innocent words. Aunt Melissa said we're going on a special adventure that Mommy and Daddy wouldn't understand. Adventure. A word that now filled me with dread. The police started digging. Credit card records, phone calls, social media. A picture began to form. Melissa hadn't just taken them on impulse. This was planned. Not for days, not for weeks. For months. What I didn't know then, what I was about to learn, was that this wasn't just a kidnapping. It was part of something much bigger. A secret I never could have imagined. And Melissa was just getting started. The investigation moved like a slow-burning fire, revealing embers of truth that threatened to consume everything. Detective Sarah Morgan sat across from me in our living room, her notepad open, eyes sharp with a mixture of professional detachment and genuine concern. Tell me about Melissa, she said, from the beginning. I took a deep breath. Melissa wasn't just my sister-in-law. She was Mark's younger sister, 10 years his junior, always desperate to prove herself. A woman who had never quite found her place in the world. She moved back to town 2 years ago, I began. Jobless, recently divorced. My husband felt obligated to help her. She practically begged to babysit the twins. At first, Melissa seemed perfect. Always available, never complained. Brought homemade cookies, sent cute photos of the kids during her babysitting shifts. How often did she babysit? Detective Morgan asked. At least twice a week, sometimes more. Mark thought it was helping her feel useful. The detective's pen moved silently across the page. Mark's mother called again. Her voice trembled. She's always been different, she said cryptically. Even as a child. Different. Another loaded word. A breakthrough came unexpectedly. Emma's school friend's mother had overheard something. A casual conversation between children revealed a crucial detail. Aunt Melissa said we're going somewhere special. That Mommy and Daddy won't understand. The police traced Melissa's recent purchases. A used SUV, camping gear, multiple prepaid cell phones, cash withdrawals. This wasn't a spontaneous act. This was meticulously planned. Credit card records showed something else. Multiple visits to child psychology websites, forums about custody, discussion boards for people feeling misunderstood by family systems. She's been planning this, Detective Morgan said, spreading documents across our coffee table. For months, possibly years. Mark sat silently, his face a mask of controlled rage and profound hurt. His sister, his own blood. Another call came from a campground owner in a remote mountain region. A woman with 2 children checked in last week, he said. Paid cash, used a fake name. The description matched Melissa perfectly. But why? What could possibly motivate a sister to take her own niece and nephew? As night fell, the house felt like a tomb. Silent. Waiting. Mark's mother arrived, her usual composure shattered. There's something you need to know, she said, her voice barely a whisper. She revealed a family secret buried for decades, a story of childhood trauma, of a sister who was always different. Melissa had been diagnosed with a complex psychological condition as a teenager, attachment disorder, a profound inability to understand normal family dynamics. She always wanted children, Mark's mother said, but could never have her own. The pieces started forming a terrifying picture. Melissa didn't just take the children. In her mind, she believed she was saving them, rescuing them from a life she deemed inadequate. A psychological evaluation from her past surfaced. Recommendations for long-term therapy, warnings about her potential behavior, warnings everyone had ignored. Detective Morgan outlined the next steps, a multi-state search, national alerts, every resource mobilized. We'll find them, she promised. But her eyes told a different story. The uncertainty, the fear. As midnight approached, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. They're safe. Better than ever. You'll understand soon. The game was about to change, and nothing would ever be the same. The mountain cabin stood isolated, surrounded by dense pine forests that seemed to swallow sound itself. Local authorities had tracked the location, but something felt off from the moment they approached. Detective Morgan briefed us before the planned operation. We need to be careful, she warned. Melissa's psychological profile suggests she might become volatile if cornered. Mark gripped my hand so tightly I could feel his pulse racing. 2 weeks had passed since Ethan and Emma disappeared. 2 weeks of hell, of uncertainty, of every parent's worst nightmare. The plan was precise. Local law enforcement would approach from multiple directions. A tactical team stood ready. The goal: rescue the children safely. As dawn broke, the operation began. Aerial surveillance showed movement inside the cabin. 2 small figures. An adult. The thermal imaging was clear enough to confirm the children were alive. "We're going in," the lead officer radioed. What happened next would become a story whispered in local law enforcement circles for years to come. The cabin wasn't just a hiding place. It was a carefully constructed world. When they breached the door, they found something unexpected. The children were not just safe, they were thriving. Melissa had created an elaborate homeschooling environment. Educational materials lined the walls. The twins' beds were meticulously made, nutritious meals prepared, their clothing clean and organized. But it was their reaction that shocked everyone. Ethan and Emma didn't cry, didn't show fear. Instead, they looked confused by the commotion. "Are we going home?" Emma asked, her voice calm, too calm. Psychological evaluations would later reveal the depth of Melissa's manipulation. She hadn't just taken the children. She'd systematically worked to make them believe their parents didn't want them. Hours of interrogation followed. Melissa remained eerily composed. "I was protecting them," she repeated, "from a life of mediocrity, from parents who didn't understand their potential." The legal process was complex. Psychological evaluations, family court hearings, each layer revealed more about Melissa's intricate plan. She had documentation, fabricated evidence suggesting we were unfit parents, carefully crafted narratives designed to justify her actions. Mark's mother broke down during her testimony. "She was always different," she repeated, "always trying to prove something." The children underwent extensive psychological evaluations. Counselors worked carefully to understand the trauma, to help them process their experience. Slowly, carefully, Ethan and Emma began to reconnect, to understand. The first night home was surreal. They were physically present, but emotionally distant. Years of careful manipulation couldn't be undone overnight. "We're going to get through this," Mark whispered to me, holding me as I cried. Months of therapy followed. Family counseling, individual sessions, a delicate process of rebuilding trust. Melissa was charged with kidnapping, but the legal system recognized the complexity of her psychological condition. She would receive treatment, not just punishment. A year later, things began to stabilize. Ethan started Little League. Emma joined a dance class. Small victories that felt like miracles. The day of Melissa's sentencing arrived. Mark chose to speak. "She's my sister," he said, his voice breaking. But what she did was unforgivable. The judge sentenced her to a specialized psychiatric facility. Treatment, rehabilitation, a chance to understand the depth of her actions. As we left the courthouse, Emma tugged at my hand. "Can we get ice cream?" she asked. Such a simple question, such a normal moment. And in that moment, I realized we had survived. Not just survived, we had won. The nightmare was over. But the healing was just beginning. The moral of the story is that love, even when well-intended, can be dangerous when twisted by delusion and unresolved trauma. It highlights the importance of recognizing mental health struggles, addressing them before they escalate, and understanding that even family members can cause harm when their actions stem from a distorted sense of righteousness. It also speaks to the resilience of family, the power of truth, and the long but possible journey of healing. While the scars of manipulation and loss don't fade overnight, love, patience, and support can rebuild what was broken.